Good morning, and thank you for joining us here today for an information session on the Marriner S. Eccles Graduate Fellowship in Political Economy. I am Dr. Matthew Plooster. I am the Assistant Dean of the Graduate School, and I oversee graduate fellowships administered here in the graduate school, as well as the General Fellowship Advisor for graduate students across campus. So what we will cover today is the basics of this fellowship and the application requirements, go over deadlines, and some common questions and concerns about the application. And then at the end, we will have time for your questions. So diving right in, what is the fellowship? So the fellowship was started by Marriner Eccles, who the Eccles name is very well known here in the state of Utah. Marriner was the first chair of the Fed, who was appointed by Franklin D. Roosevelt to oversee the New Deal initiatives. And he's known as the father of the modern reserve, designing and leading the major reconstruction of the nation's central bank into the form we know today. He was instrumental in setting the direction for the U.S. and global economy after World War II, participating in the Bretton Woods Conference that established post-World War II international monetary system. And as a legacy, he established this fellowship here at the University of Utah in the 1970s. So we're on probably the third or fourth generation of students who are benefiting from this particular fellowship, which spans disciplines across all across all colleges. This is not specific to a particular discipline, but rather specific to the research questions that you have as they relate to political economy. So this fellowship is what we call a dissertation completion fellowship or late career fellowship. So this is meant to cap off your PhD program rather than early career or pre-doc, which is during your coursework, or mid-career, which is when you're starting and really executing the research. This is late careers, you're finishing your research, you're doing your writing, you're publishing, you're defending. So it's to help you reach the finish line. The benefits of this is a $27,000 stipend, which is often supplemented by your home department. So your department may choose to increase that. But this is half in the fall, half in the spring, so $13,500 in the fall and a lump sum, same in the spring. We will also cover your graduate tuition up to 12 graduate credits, which by this point is dissertation credits that you're in. And we will also cover your subsidized health insurance. So if you're on the tuition benefit program right now, that is the same health insurance plan that you would be on with this fellowship. To be eligible, you must be a PhD student in any relevant discipline or a Master's of Legal Studies student, completing research related to political economy and public policy, including banking, business, education, finance, humanities, legal studies, and social sciences, which today we have a superb mix of this, and able to complete your dissertation during the fellowship year, which is fall 2024 and spring 2025, during which you will study full-time. So you'll enroll in a minimum of 9 credits and devote your time to your dissertation and research activities. This is dissertation completion. So hopefully by this point, as you are approaching, hopefully next year's your final year in your program, coursework should be completed. Committees should be formed. Your qualifying or comprehensive exams should be completed and passed, and your research should be underway. Some of these might be still pending for you right now in fall 2023, but by fall 2024, all of these should be satisfied. Students are expected to forego assistantship employment during the fellowship year in order to focus on their scholarly activities. However, inflation is what it is, cost of living in Salt Lake is what it is, and requests can be made in the application for this fellowship for limited employment on campus, usually about 5 hours a week, working on research projects as research assistant or as a TA for 5 hours or whatnot. So that option to continue some campus work while on your fellowship is available. Why do we do this? Why do we have this restriction of campus employment? It is so that you get the benefit of the fellowship, which is to devote more time. Fellowships equal freedom, which is freedom to devote more time and energy and to your projects to increase the success and to reach the finish line successfully. The application is available right now on the university's centralized application system. I hope you're all familiar with that already. If you're not, it is utah.academicworks.com. From there, you will log in with your CIS information, your unit and password, and then you'll complete a general application, after which you are able to search for this particular opportunity and apply to this particular opportunity. Please take a look around when you're in there for other scholarships and fellowships and awards that you may be eligible for, and maximize your funding opportunity as well. Your application will include and require a copy of your CV or resume, your college transcripts, which can be unofficial, and include your DARS report out of CIS, 2 letters of recommendation, a department letter of support. You will provide a definition of political economy. You will provide your research prospectus, a statement of professional goals and personal research qualifications, and that optional employment request. So diving into these individual application components, your CV or resume, please choose whichever you are most comfortable with. If you have a well put together resume, but not a CV, go with that. That is okay. It's okay to use a CV over resume. One is not better than the other. You just want to ensure that it is up to date. We, in the fellowship review world, we read a lot of resumes that have not been updated in many years. So please ensure that it is up to date and reflects the depth and breadth of your experience and your skills. Your college transcripts should be from the colleges that you have attended, and unofficial ROK or degree audit report is also acceptable. You have 3 different letters that you need to have, 2 letters of recommendation and 1 letter of support. The first letter of recommendation should be from your thesis or dissertation chair, and they will speak to your project's progress and the completion timeline. They usually also add in, here's why this is timely, this is why this is important, and why this student is the ideal and ideally positioned individual to be successful with their project. And they oftentimes will speak to, this is the great and successful progress they've made so far to give the review committee additional confidence in your application. The second letter of recommendation should be from another individual outside of your chair. This is usually another faculty member. I would say choose a faculty member if at all you can, ideally someone from your committee, but can be anyone who can speak to your scholarly and leadership capabilities. And then your third letter is the department letter of support. This comes from your chair or director of grad studies or whoever's designated by the chair. And this discusses the department support, particularly with resources. This is where they will say the student has all of the research support that they need, whether it's equipment or funding or whatnot. If the department is going to supplement your fellowship, they will usually make mention of that there as well to ensure that you are reaching your discipline's minimum level of support, because that will vary by discipline. Really importantly, you want to put a lot of thought and effort into your definition of political economy. You only have 200 words, which is not a lot, and a lot of applicants will look at that and say 200 words, easy peasy, but you need to be very strategic and pack a lot into those 200 words. Provide for the reviewers your own definition, not a dictionary definition, but how you, the applicant, are viewing political economy. Illustrate in this definition, as well as throughout your entire proposal, the connection between political economy and your research projects. So each of you is coming from a very different area. Well, we have a couple of sociology people here, but from different research questions. So everyone is viewing political economy from a different angle, through a different lens. So you want to be specific of how political economy is being defined by you through the lens of your research project. And you only have 2 words for that, so you can bleed that over, of course, weave throughout your narrative in your proposal. And your research prospectus, your proposal is a maximum of 6 pages, With fellowship applications, maximum of 6 pages is code for please use all 6 pages. This is double spaced, 12-point font. This should include the connection between political economy, as you have already defined in your application, and your research, illustrated as an integral element rather than a convenient add-on. This is something that we do get from the committee every year is political economy needs to be a pretty standard intersection of the research project, not here's my research project, and I suppose political economy relates to it somehow. So you need to show how it's an integral part. Does not have to be the majority or the main focus, but it does need to be tightly weaved in to your research project as far as the relevance goes. You'll include in your prospectus a description of the interdisciplinary aspect of your research. Describe how your research bridges theory and policy making decisions. Remember, Marriner Eccles was a policymaker. He was not an academic. So the focus of this fellowship is taking theory and research into action. And then please include your anticipated timeline with milestones. So you want to mark that timeline from now to your defense with those different milestones along the way. That will be achieved during the fellowship year, including your anticipated completion date. Your professional goals and personal qualifications. This is very brief as well. Some of this will already be on your resume or CV or weaved into your your prospectus, your research prospectus. So this is 200 words or less. List your professional goals and any personal qualifications relative to your research project. Why are you the best person to be doing this? Have you done similar research in the past? Do you have a personal connection to this? Whatever may be relevant and salient for you to speak to your personal connection to your research project. When it comes to your professional goals, I want to touch on that for a minute. After about 15 years of reading scholarship and fellowship essays, we can clearly and easily see when an applicant is trying to tell us what they think we want to hear versus authenticity and sincerity about their own trajectory. So, and we don't want you to give us a line, we want you to be honest. So with a lot of graduate PhD fellowships, a lot of students feel, I have to say that I'm going into the professoriate. I'm going to go into academia and spend 30 to 40 years as a professor doing research, publishing, and teaching. Otherwise, I won't be considered. No, if you plan on going into government work, policymaking work, public office even, going into nonprofit management, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Whatever your professional goals are, please be authentic and sincere about those here, because there's no right or wrong answer. So don't tell us what you think we want to hear. Tell us what is relevant to you and your trajectory. The employment requests, we touched on this briefly. Students are expected to forego employment during the fellowship year. Namely on campus, what you do off campus, we do not know about. But you may be exempt from the employment condition, not exceeding 5 hours a week of assistantship, such as teaching assistantship, research assistantship. The request for campus employment on the application includes why the teaching or research experience is essential. And usually this relates to the student is working in my lab and the work going on in this PI's lab is specific to my research project. Or I plan on going into teaching, that is one of my professional goals. And so this teaching assistantship that I'm doing concurrent to this dissertation completion fellowship is essential to my going on the job market and being successful and landing a teaching position. How will this experience, this assistantship or campus employment will not interfere with the fellowship. So again, fellowship is freedom to have more time to work on your project. The committee wants to make very clear, this is not solely a funding program, but an experiential program. So they want to make sure that you are able to allocate more time than you normally would to your project. and how the teaching or research experience won't exceed 5 hours a week. And a lot of that is oftentimes in the department letter of support from your chair or director of graduate studies. Some writing tips. Write clearly. I know we're all at that, mid-career, reaching our final year of dissertation. So you've done a lot of academic writing already. Most of you may have published already. You've defended your research or your dissertation proposal. You've written several chapters of your manuscript already. So you've heard it from your committee chairs a million times already, but for repetition's sake, write clearly. Be pithy and succinct. Only include what is necessary. Don't throw in a hodgepodge of miscellaneous facts or experiences or whatnot if it's not relevant to your narrative for this particular award. Omit unnecessary language, especially technical jargon. Don't overwhelm us with words that we'll have to look up. A good rule of thumb with fellowship application, whether as a grad student or even going into a postdoc, is you want your reviewer staff to think as little as possible. So you want to make everything as easy to read. So use everyday language over technical jargon, or if you have to use jargon, be sure that you are defining those terms in the first attribution of that, etc. Use shorter words over longer, more complicated vocabulary, and make sure each sentence is purposeful. 6 pages is not a lot for a research perspective, especially when you've completed a lot of your research already and you have challenges that you've overcome and deviations and troubleshooting to get your research back on track, because we've all faced those different challenges during our research and whatnot. So 6 pages is not a lot. Make sure every sentence you put in there is purposeful. Know your audience. This is going to be read by reviewers who are mostly faculty here on campus in your areas of study. It is usually the deans of your college. So high-level academics are reviewing your applications, and they are very experienced in fellowship review. And write in a way that makes it easy for the reader to get the info that they need and make a decision. This is reviews always happen on top of everyday work, so it's something that they need to be able to do quickly and easily, and they don't have large copious amounts of time to spend on review. That's just a general good rule of thumb for all fellowship review. Some common weaknesses that we see in fellowship applications, including this, is unorganized statements that doesn't tell a clear story. So you want to have a narrative. You don't want to be going back and forth. You want to have a good theme where everything flows smoothly from point A to B to C to D, etc. Dense writing that is difficult to understand or is uninteresting, it's not going to bode well for you if you can't capture your reviewers' interest, if it's difficult and challenging for them to read, or if it's so thick that they have to take it in small bite-sized pieces. Too much jargon. Failure to clearly define connection with political economy. So while this is going to be read by people in your broader discipline, in your in the College of Business, School of Business, College of Humanities, College of Social and Behavioral Science, etc., you're going to be read by people who are not familiar with your discipline. So anything that you take for granted, like any business professor reading this will know this. Well, you're only going to have one person from business, not 5. So you want to make sure that you're taking into consideration that broad breadth of background that all the reviewers will have. The deadline for this is December 29th of this year, 2023, and your letters are due. So December 29th is your deadline. You must hit submit. This is something that students forget to do. They will upload all the requirements. Their application will be complete as far as everything is done for it, but they forget to hit submit. Always ensure that you hit the submit button on any application. And then your letters of recommendation, your 2 letters of recommendation, and your 1 letter of department support are due 1 week later on January 5th. This is all 11:59 p.m. Mountain Standard Time, but please do not wait until 11:58 to be uploading things, because it will cut you off in the middle of an upload. And standard fellowship practice across the country is deadlines are deadlines, and we enforce those deadlines. So aim to submit your applications a day, at least a full day before the deadline, because you never know when Wi-Fi will go out, when there are technical issues with the system, etc. And then any questions that you have, please never hesitate to reach out to me. I'm the administrator of this particular award, but I'm also the graduate fellowship expert for graduate students here on this campus. Fellowships at gradschool.utah.edu. Please feel free to reach out at any time. So at this point, I'm going to stop the recording and stop sharing the screen, and you will have the rest of the time to ask any questions that you might have.